Welcome back to the Hero Gauntlet. This is your host, Boomy. Today's bout features the hero of Camelot, the wielder of Excalibur, the one and only King Arthur. He'll be pitted against the hero of Transylvania, the leader of the vampires, Dracula. Now let's look at some card analysis here. We have King Arthur with his boosted attacks, where he can take his card and boost it with another with that nice Excalibur and Noble Sacrifice combo. Then you have that beautiful Command the Storms to move people around the board wherever he would like. Now Dracula is a tricky guy as well. He can deal damage next to his opponents to draw cards. He can force his opponents to use different cards on attacks. He can be able to use his Baptism of Blood for healing, and then that vicious beast form to unload his hand on his opponent. Here's how King Arthur's doing so far. Let's see how he does against Dracula. Alright, so here we are in Baskerville Manor, the home map of Sherlock Holmes, and let's look at the opening hand for King Arthur. It looks like I was able to get beginning placement, so I was able to kind of place Merlin down. As you can see, you got a lot of options as you go second. Actually, that's actually second place. And you can see that Dracula is starting off his first turn by actually dealing a damage to one of his sisters to get that hand advantage. Automatically starts to move himself right next to Merlin and go and attack him. So for me, this tells me he's got something big up his sleeve. And he's coming at me with an ambush, which actually worked out really well for him. He tried to pull out some cards. He took out the Command the Storms, which wasn't the end of the world for King Arthur, as Bewilderment will allow Merlin to pretty much go anywhere on the board. So kind of looking around here, you can see all the wonderful options he has at his disposal. And I really like that tri-zone space with Merlin to control more of the board. So now I'm left with 3 cards left in hand. This is not looking good for King Arthur, so I'm going to have to try to get that card draw. So I pick up the Feint and I move right next to Merlin in an effort to try to at least get some little protection by him. I kind of thinking about what I want to do with Merlin. He can't attack the sisters from there, so he's going to go after them with Restless Spirits, which will take them both out with one hit. And the wonderful thing with Restless Spirits is that if you take out a figure, then you're going to be able to draw a card just like that with Momentous Shift. He's going to throw down a Prey Upon in order to heal 0, which is kind of, this is where AI is kind of a little wonky here. And then he's going to move up 1 space. So already Dracula is out of sisters, and he's pretty much in a bad state right now against Merlin and Arthur. Merlin's going to take advantage of that nice range capability of his. He's going to run up over onto that secret passageway, use a nice Momentous Shift against Dracula. Dracula throws up that Exploit, which is going to block most of that damage. But the thing is that using that Exploit right now, I don't know if that's going to be, incredibly useful for him, but it was, pretty impactful in that one combat encounter. So he's going to draw a card. He gets Baptism of Blood, and the nice thing with that, he gets a sister back right next to him. She's going to move up over next to King Arthur, kind of threatening him over in the moment. And now it's my turn here. I have a Momentous Shift and a Feint, and I also have that nice Divine Intervention. So I do have some movement capabilities. Now with Skirmish, I feel a little bit more comfortable with at least setting myself up, at least for defenses, and kind of preparing myself for any sort of attack that might be coming my way, for any escapes I might be able to do. But I do move up right there within range of Dracula, who does feint the Momentous Shift. The damage still gets through. It's still only 1 damage. These really haven't been as impactful Momentous Shifts, but we are getting rid of some big defense cards that would really hurt King Arthur. So we have Ravening Seduction being used by Dracula to deal that 1 damage to King Arthur, as he kind of moves up over in that light blue zone over in the garden over there. So King Arthur's got to really kind of configure where he wants to be, what's going to be the most advantageous spot. Of course, Merlin really likes being on those secret passageway spots. I ended up using Skirmish, hoping that he didn't have high defenses. He actually did. He had Dash, He's going to be able to move up to 3 spaces, but then we get to move him up to 2 if he would like for that encounter. So he gets right there, and then I can move him or Merlin up to 2 spaces. And I decide to move Merlin over there, just far away from any threat or of attack from Dracula. I'm kind of down to 2 versatiles at this point. And now Dracula is just kind of double maneuvering to fill up that hand, spreading out him and his sister. And also now we have Merlin on that green space, on that secret passageway, as King Arthur is kind of near that one right there. I end up moving him on that space just as a way of escape if Dracula ends up rushing towards him. I'm able to get some more reversals in my hand. And now we're going to interrupt this with a halftime report. So going into this, as you can see, King Arthur's definitely got the combat and direct damage going on, but Dracula definitely blocking a lot of damage coming his way. Lots of schemes played by Dracula, but with no impact. So let's get back to the game and see how things are going. So Dracula's going to move about. He's going to have his sister go attack Merlin. For me, I got a few options here. I can try to feint this if I want to. Kind of been contemplating if I even want to block this, considering that the sisters don't really have incredibly high attacks except for exploit, which they would have to use on offense, which I would have to say for Dracula it's better defensively. I decided to use the feint against the dash, so I was able to at least stop their movement to get away from me, and I end up taking 1 damage to Merlin. So going on to my turn, I have a few options here. I can actually, use Merlin against the sister, or I can just kind of maneuver about, or there's even Command the Storms where I can actually move everybody on the board and kind of position Arthur in a very healthy way. I do get that nice prophecy with the maneuver for some card draw, but I'm already kind of full on my hand. So let's see what I end up doing. I end up using the secret passageway to go through King Arthur's space. And then I actually use Prophecy. Probably not my, best move right here, but, I think I just wanted to get Prophecy out of my hand. I end up putting those back in the top and bottom in the right order. And then I just have a full hand now. And let's see what happens. And then they maneuver and the maneuver boost and get Dracula closer to Merlin, which I don't understand the the reasoning behind that, but I'm sure it will be shown to me in due time. So I go up right next to him. I do have Ada Morgana. The problem is I probably don't want to have to draw 2 more cards, but I'm gonna boost this Ada Morgana anyways to make it a 7. And then he throws that look into my eyes. He's able to add the boost value to his defense, but he takes a mighty 4 damage on that attack. Morgana really definitely helping me out there. And then I draw 2 more cards. The problem with this is that brings me over the 7-hand limit. So I have to discard a card, and I end up getting rid of Command the Storms, which for me was, the more viable choice. So Dracula comes at me, deals the damage to me, and now is going to attack me. I'm kind of contemplating my next move here, trying to figure this one out. So I decided to go with Skirmish, feeling this is going to be a big beast form, which it ended up being, and I take a mighty, mighty chunk of damage there. From that, around 7 damage, which is, pretty big for any fighter in this game. So it goes back to my turn now that Dracula is able to move away. I'm kind of contemplating a few things here. I'm looking at a few of my options. I got Lady of the Lake now. If I need to, I can jump onto Excalibur, hopefully be able to get that. But I have Merlin. Merlin is, remember, King Arthur's greatest asset. He has that range capability, and a lot of those versatile cards and things, you can use him to attack with. So I'm going to move him over there. And I think using a skirmish against Dracula at this point in time would make sense. He uses Look Into My Eyes to add 1 to his defense, but he's still going to take a mighty 2 damage there from Merlin, kind of weakening him. And now I have the option to be able to move him up to 2 spaces. So let's see what we got here on the board. I decided to just move Merlin back 1 to keep Arthur protected. And let's see what ends up happening. The sister goes after Merlin, and then she goes right back. Kind of a little bit of a tease there, a little play of the mind. But we have Dracula really just trying to stay isolated over on the left side of the map. And, you know, for me, now I got Excalibur! I have the mighty sword! And what am I going to do here? I really need to get to Dracula if I want a swift end to this guy. So I really have to think about how I'm going to get to him quickly and be able to deliver that final blow. So I think I'm contemplating if I want to actually boost my maneuver to get over to him through a secret passage, or if I just want to go right after the sister or not. And I'm kind of looking at the different options of cards I have. I decide to use Divine Intervention for that nice 2 boost value to give me the 4 that is needed to get right next to Dracula. I'm kind of contemplating if I want to block his access to the left part of the map and up and down, or to the right side. I end up going on the left, and I end up leaving Merlin there, which is fine. I end up boosting my Excalibur against him. He does no blocks at all, and I'm able to defeat Dracula. So the victory goes to King Arthur. So let's look at the final stats here. King Arthur definitely in the lead in combat damage and direct damage, but Dracula with damage blocked in the lead as well as health recovered and schemes played, but just not at that effectiveness that he really needed this match. Now looking at their efficiency rating, you can see there's a clear disparity between that 4.67 and under a 1 for Dracula. So clearly a one-sided battle within this fight. So going so far throughout this gauntlet, King Arthur is in the victory for 2-0. Let's see how he does against Medusa.